Welcome back to Art by Annamarie, the big painting challenge. I've chosen the Swan skeleton from Jacqueline from Narrowboat to the Deep North. If you haven't seen Jacqueline in action on her narrowboat, check out her channel. I chose this painting today because I kind of felt that Jacqueline threw down the gauntlet with her two pictures, and I even feel like she thought that I wasn't going to do the Swan skeleton, so I wanted to give it a go. And I kind of wanted to change my color palette for this one. You can see that I've measured up the page with my sketching, and I did have to spend extra time sketching this one because of all the lines in the skeleton. And then what I've done is I've chosen a completely different color palette to what I would usually do. So I've started with a brown that I don't usually use unless it's mixed, and I've added in this green, which is like an olive green, and I don't use that. I never use that olive green. I bought it accidentally, and I just keep it in my palette container, so it has come to good use today. I'm gonna fill in the space around the swan to begin with, because once you paint over the white spaces on your watercolor paper, it's nearly impossible to get them back. Well, it is impossible. It's impossible to get the true white of the paper back. You can put some white gouache on top at the end, but you know, you need to start with leaving them available as much as possible. And I've not done a skeleton before, so I wanted to just try to leave it as washed out as possible. I've made up a kind of what I think is a bone color, and I've made that just with my yellow ochre, and I'm using some white watercolor pigment that is pretty useless in anything else except that what I wanted it to do was kind of thicken up the color and help the color carry. So that's why I've added the white. And what I'm doing here is I just need to put in some detail, some soft detail for the rib cage. You're going to see here that the beak part of the swan gives me quite a lot of grief. I couldn't get the angle right, and I wasn't 100% sure if it's because my sketch wasn't correct. I've talked to you previously about laying a really good base layer, and I think you have to have a lot of faith in your sketch, and you have to be completely sure that your sketch is spot on before you start. And I think that's maybe I was a little bit nervous with my sketch because I had to keep the sketching really light, because once you go over it with the watercolor, it's really hard to erase it because the pigment kind of seals it in. So I had a really light sketch, and I was a little bit nervous with how exactly the skeleton worked together. So I kept on looking at the line of the beak, and I wasn't 100% sure if I didn't just put my background in incorrectly, and I've created a false line in the background, and I had to just ignore that. And you can see that I'm quite nervous, and so I've decided to go back onto something that's a little bit easier, and then I just keep going back. And I think that's just really how you train your eye. If you can't get the right angle to begin with, I try not to push it. I just think, okay, well, I'm going to go to something that I know that I can really rely on the picture because I've got the angle completely right, and then I'll come back to it. And for some reason that kind of clicks over in your head, and you can tend to make those little adjustments as you go. I have no natural spacing understanding of a swan's rib cage, so I really wasn't able to rely on anything for the skull or for the rib cage to understand what my actual paint size should be. So I went with quite a thin paintbrush to just keep dabbing and spotting just to kind of make sure that I didn't overplay the detail. And then when I put my shadow on, I was quite tentative. I went back over the shadow 2 or 3 times because it's such a delicate piece that what you don't want to happen if you're playing along at home and you're going to try this one, you don't want to accentuate a part of the shadow accidentally, because with such a delicate piece it's going to be really hard to get that pigment back up. I thought Jacqueline would enjoy an Easter egg inside this skeleton. She challenged me and I thought that I would return the favour just with a quirky little touch of my own. If you have enjoyed this video and you have enjoyed this watercolour, check it out on my website, Art by Annamarie. Play along on the Facebook page and also give me a like, subscribe and share the video. Thanks.